Welcome to your channel, NightVeil Stories. The first time Emma saw the painting, it was hanging alone in the dusty corner of an antique shop that smelled of old wood and forgotten memories. It was a small framed canvas of a smiling child, dark curls, bright eyes, and an expression that felt a little too alive. Something in the child's smile made Emma pause, as if the painted face were aware of her. The shopkeeper noticed her staring and immediately stiffened. "You have good taste," he said quietly, though his face betrayed discomfort. "But that piece isn't for everyone." Emma raised an eyebrow. "Why? It looks harmless." The man hesitated before replying. "Every owner who bought that painting died within a month." Emma laughed, assuming it was just a sales tactic or maybe the opposite, a warning meant to scare buyers away. But something about the man's trembling voice lingered in her mind. She bought it anyway, brushing off his final words, "If you hear it whisper, don't answer." That night, Emma placed the painting on the wall of her living room. The child's smile seemed wider than before, the shadows around the eyes deeper, almost watchful. She shook off the thought and went to bed. But at 3:17 a.m., Emma awoke suddenly, heart pounding. The house was silent, too silent. She felt a presence in the hallway, a soft warmth, as if someone small were standing just beyond her door. Then she heard it. A faint giggle. A child's giggle. And it came from the painting. Emma didn't sleep for the rest of the night. She left her bedroom door locked and waited for the sunrise like it was her last hope. When the morning finally arrived, the house felt normal again, quiet, harmless, ordinary. She convinced herself it was just her imagination mixed with the shopkeeper's creepy warning. But when she walked into the living room, her breath caught in her throat. The painting had moved. It was no longer centered on the wall. Instead, it hung crookedly, as if someone small had tugged at it from below. The child's smile looked different too, wider, sharper, stretching subtly toward the edges of the face. Emma approached slowly, unable to tear her eyes away. For a moment, she saw the child's pupils shift, following her. She stumbled back. Determined not to give in to fear, she grabbed the frame to remove it. But the wood was warm, unnaturally warm, like holding the hand of a feverish child. And then she heard it, faint, breathy, coming from inside the canvas. "Emma!" Her blood froze. She dropped the painting and it hit the floor with a soft thud, but the glass didn't break. Not even a crack, almost as if it couldn't be damaged. She stepped back, shaking, her eyes fixed on the still smiling face. The child inside the painting whispered again, this time clearer, voice like a gentle hum coming from a place far away. "Do you like my smile?" Emma ran out of the house, slamming the door behind her. Her mind raced. Was she losing her grip on reality? Or was the painting truly alive? She decided to return to the antique shop, desperate for answers. But when she arrived, the entire store was empty, windows dusty, door chained, and a faded sign reading "closed for good." The shopkeeper had vanished. And she realized, she was now alone with the painting. Emma drove back home with trembling hands, her mind replaying the whisper again and again. "Do you like my smile?" The street felt colder than usual when she stepped out of the car, as if the air itself had thinned. She unlocked the front door cautiously, half expecting the painting to be standing in the hallway waiting for her. The silence inside was heavy, thick enough to hear her own heartbeat. The painting was back on the wall. Perfectly centered. Perfectly straight. And the smile had grown. It was no longer a simple smile. It stretched unnaturally wide, reaching the cheeks in a way a human face never could. The eyes, once soft and innocent, now had depth, too much depth, as if something alive crouched behind them, watching through the paint. Emma stepped closer, her breath shaky. Her phone buzzed suddenly, making her jump. It was a text from an unknown number. 28 days left. Her pulse spiked. She deleted the message, but another one appeared instantly. "He chose you." Emma dropped the phone. A cold breeze swept through the living room, making the curtains sway though the windows were shut. She felt someone behind her. Slowly, she turned. A small shadow stood in the corridor. Short. Childlike. motionless. Emma stared, unable to breathe. The shadow didn't move, yet she felt its presence tightening the air around her. When she blinked, the shadow was gone, but the sound it left behind wasn't. A soft pattering, like tiny barefoot steps running across the floorboards. She backed away until she reached the kitchen. The lights flickered, and her reflection in the window shifted, warped, like someone else was standing beside her. A child-shaped silhouette began to form in the reflection, though the room behind her was empty. She whispered, "What do you want?" The reflection smiled. Not her. The child. It whispered from the glass, voice layered with static and breath. "Don't worry. I'll be with you until the end." Emma collapsed onto the kitchen tiles, tears forming. She wasn't imagining it. The curse was real. And the countdown had already begun. Emma didn't leave the house for the next 2 days. She barely slept, barely ate, barely breathed without feeling someone small standing just out of sight. The countdown messages kept arriving every morning at exactly 3:17 a.m., the same time she had first heard the giggle. 26 days left. 25 days left. She tried blocking the number, but new ones appeared each time. It didn't matter. The sender wasn't using a phone. She knew that now. The painting had changed again. The child no longer sat still inside it. His shoulders were angled forward now, as if he were leaning toward the edge of the canvas, pushing against the painted world that held him. The background behind him had darkened into swirling black strokes, like something was pulling him closer to the surface. Emma couldn't stand being watched anymore. She grabbed a hammer from the garage and marched toward the painting, her hands shaking with desperation. She swung hard, striking the glass dead center. Clink. The hammer bounced back harmlessly. The frame remained untouched. The smile grew wider. In panic, she wrapped the painting in a blanket and stuffed it inside a wooden trunk in the basement. She locked the lid and pushed a heavy toolbox on top of it for good measure. For the first time in days, she exhaled with a fragile sense of relief. But that relief shattered the moment she reached the top of the basement stairs. A soft knocking echoed from beneath her. Tap. 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 She froze. The knocking grew louder. Then faster. Tap 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 tap. Finally, a child's voice whispered through the cracks of the basement door, muffled but unmistakably close. "Why are you hiding me, Emma?" She stumbled away from the door, tears running down her cheeks. She called her best friend, Harper, her voice trembling as she begged her to come over. Harper didn't believe in curses, but she agreed to visit. When Harper arrived, the house felt colder than ever. She hugged Emma tightly and said, "Whatever's going on, we'll figure it out." But as they walked into the living room, both women stopped dead in their tracks. The painting was back on the wall. Unwrapped. Undamaged. Smiling wider than ever. Harper whispered, "Emma, what have you brought into your house?" Harper stared at the painting, her breath shallow, her skin pale. "Emma, we need to leave. Now." But Emma couldn't move. The child's smile pulled at her, freezing her in place. It felt as though invisible strings had wrapped around her legs, her arms, even her breath. Harper grabbed her hand and yanked her toward the door. The moment they stepped outside, Emma felt the air lift from her chest. Fresh, cold wind filled her lungs, breaking the suffocating heaviness that had clung to her inside the house. Harper drove her to a motel miles away, insisting they stay the night and figure out what to do in the morning. But at 3:17 a.m., Emma woke to a familiar sound. Tap. 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 Her heart sank. The knocking wasn't on the door. It was coming from inside the motel room wall. Harper woke as Emma shook her violently. "He's here," Emma whispered, her voice breaking. "He found me." The lights flickered, and a wave of cold swept across the room. Slowly, the wallpaper began to bubble, stretching outward like something was pushing from the other side. Harper backed away, covering her mouth in horror. A tiny hand pressed through the wallpaper, small, childlike, fingers long and thin like wet paint trying to reshape itself. Emma screamed as the hand slid downward, pulling the wall open like a curtain. Behind it stood the child from the painting. But he wasn't painted anymore. He stood in 3 dimensions, dripping colors that evaporated into smoke, eyes deep as an endless void, smile carved impossibly wide. His voice was soft, sweet, and wrong. "You took me home. Now I'm yours." Harper grabbed Emma's arm and pulled her toward the exit, but the door slammed shut on its own. The walls darkened, smeared with black strokes spreading like ink. The child stepped closer, dragging one foot as if still half stuck between worlds. "Only 1 month," he whispered. "One smile, for one soul." Emma collapsed, shaking violently. Harper screamed at the child. "Leave her alone." But he tilted his head, amused. "I don't want her to be alone," he said. "She won't be. I'll stay, even after she's gone." The room froze. Every light went out. A single message buzzed on Emma's phone in the darkness. 0 days left. Emma's scream cut through the building, then silence. By morning, the motel staff found only Harper, unconscious, trembling, whispering the same words over and over. "He took her. He smiled, and he took her." The painting was never found.